roads because some schools have started, right? I know I keep saying this in the past couple of weeks, but enjoy this time on maybe starting work a little early because, by next week we're going to be in full throttle with it. I hope you're having a great morning coming into work, a great time starting your day, and I'm quite pleased to have in studio this morning with me, we have Myles from Inspire Cayman Training. Good morning, Michael. How you doing?
I'm very well, Kathy. Thanks for inviting me.
Excellent. Well, I know why you're here, so I'm going to set up the background for our listeners.
Sure.
In June, when you came in, we were speaking more about Inspire Cayman Training and a little bit about the emerging job industries in Cayman that are coming out now and in the, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years from now. You had told me to go and read the Auditor General's report that was published in May, and that report was titled Improving Employment Prospects for Caymanians.
Yep.
And as I said right before the show, I was super shocked and very angry by a lot of the things that I read in that report. And I think it's really important for people to understand the information that we're giving, understand the information that is in that report. I would love to tell people that they can go to the website, auditorgeneral.gov.ky. However, it was down for me last night on different devices and different browsers. So perhaps people can't go to it right now. I'm hoping that the website will be up. But we do have the report. If anybody would like to get it, you can always contact us at Radio Cayman and we'll be happy to send it to you. So to give an introduction, so at the end of July, I just said, I actually went over the Auditor General's report on a show on the Business Buzz. So that report was published in May, and as I said, titled Improving Employment Prospects for Caymanians. The audit's objective for this report was to, quote, assess work's efficiency and effectiveness and improving employment prospects for Caymanians. It is noted that improving employment is a multi-department effort across government, and the audit considered other public sectors in producing this report. The audit covered government strategic direction, work's strategic direction, and the use of resources to improve employment prospects for Caymanians from 2019 to 2022, and used 2023 data where relevant. The audit aimed to ask the following questions. Does government have a clear and effective strategic direction for improving employment prospects for Caymanians? How effective have work and the government been at removing barriers to employment and improving employment opportunities for Caymanians? How effective has work been in improving employment prospects for Caymanians? Based on the data compiled, there are a total of 10 recommendations made, and in the report by the Auditor General on how to improve employment prospects for Caymanians. Some of those include developing a national employment policy, preparing forecasts of long-term labor force demands, work employment programs, and the Ministry of Education's TVET framework to be reassessed and follow international practices. Now, for the purpose of this conversation, we're going to focus on work's employment programs and the Ministry of Education's TVET framework, because really that's a big part of your background and what you do, right? You offer those programs. So now that I've given people that bit of a
segue,
brief background and what we're doing here, I want to touch on, we said it before, but I want to just touch on what those emerging industries again in Cayman are that you're seeing, that your experience from people that want to come to Inspire Cayman training programs, or that you just hear on the road that we need these different training programs. So those emerging industries that are coming from your experience, from your insights, what do you know that is coming up?
I think IT and software creation is a major part. A lot of folks that are calling us now are calling for IT programs. They want to be able to develop software. They want to be able to repair computers. They want to be able to create cybersecurity. So about 3-4 months, I think it's about 4 months ago now, I applied to CompTIA. CompTIA is an international accreditation. So my organization is now CompTIA accredited, all because we have so many people, that want to, enhance their skills.
Is that new from you were here June?
It's not. It's just gotten busier.
Okay.
And in particular, young Caymanians that want to get involved in that. So, you have a lot of gamers, and these kids think that, well, because I can sit around all day and play a video game, that I can potentially fix a computer. Well, you don't have the skills to do that. So that's driving a lot of things as well. every company now is wanting to protect their assets, so they're creating cybersecurity is a major industry across the globe at this point because of all the threats that are out there. That's online. Everyone is online. All of our banking is online. All of our medical records is online. So organizations are now asking for a lot of that. The industries that are still here, Kathy, is construction is always booming. We have diversified construction. People are doing so many different things in construction now. The unfortunate thing is that we don't invest more in it as a career path. We as a country, it's still a job. Being a plumber is still a job. Being a plumber is not a career. Like, we're not talking to our young people about careers. As you see from the report, the schools, our public schools, they talk about white collar jobs when that is not even in the top 10, right? It is. Construction jobs account for probably 50%, 60% of the jobs that are being created in our country in different facets, from, not just from plumbing and electrical, but you're talking about AC units. You're talking about now we now have a lot of solar that's going on, installation, maintenance. Every morning, I drive down the road, all I see is trucks with construction logos on them, a maintenance company, a landscaping company. Like, those are all of what we're seeing, but we are not capitalizing on that. So when we talk about emerging markets, I think IT has driven a lot of things because we are now so IT focused, because everybody has a computer, everybody has a laptop, or a desktop, everybody has a tablet. Our phones are small computers. We get a lot of calls for people who want to fix cell phones. I went into several stores because one of the things that I like to do to just understand what the market is and what the demand is, I go into stores and I see who's working there. So, I go into a lot of stores that are fixing phones. No Caymanians, or very few. If they're Caymanians, they're probably school leavers that are really just apprentices or interns.
Or kind of working the counter.
Yeah, and it's very few of those. It's folks from, somewhere in Asia or Europe or Jamaica or Trinidad or somewhere in the Caribbean. We have to start. Those are the low-hanging fruit for us. We have to start helping our young people to understand that, and many of them, I think, want this because the folks that we get, they don't want to become attorneys. They don't want to become, they're not going into the accounting field. They actually want to go into a field that's something to use their hands.
Right.
And we're not pushing that a lot more. And we're not using data. Like the data that you just read, like I was telling you before the show started, who's responsible for it? Okay, so the Auditor General wrote it.
Right.
Right? Who's now responsible for all of those recommendations?
Now what?
Correct.
Right.
So the emerging markets are coming. We are not prepared because we don't have the system set up. We don't have the training program set up for stuff like that. But what we already have, we're also not capitalizing on, right? Construction is a major thing. Accommodations. We are always talking about becoming a bartender or becoming a server. Well, what about becoming an executive, right? At a major hotel, we have at least 5 major resorts here. We are always saying, going to the hospitality industry, you could be a server and they make a lot of money. Great. I'm not disputing that. But we are not saying it's a start. It's not where you're going to end up, right? Right? Because all hotels have human resources. They have IT.
I want to interject right there. A few weeks ago, there was a press release about a Caymanian lady who had rose to the ranks of a luxury hotel here into a management position.
Yeah.
Congratulations to her. I can't remember exactly if the press release said she was one of the first to do so.
Yes.
I was like, okay, well, ever since I moved here, I've been here 19 years. That's the first one.
Yeah.
That also blew me away. So people were like, great, congratulations. And I'm thinking, great. I'm like, why is this one in 20 years?
We don't talk about that.
That's crazy to me.
We don't even press that. I mean, when I read that, I smiled because I was at the Hyatt in its heyday. right? And I mean, the Hyatt was the it thing. It was the only resort on island, and we never had a Caymanian in training to take over. And at the time, the GM of that hotel was Doug Sayers. I remember, very nice guy, got Cayman citizenship, owned a lot of property here as well, multi-millionaire, very, very nice guy. But Doug was he was a GM for at least a decade, if not more, right? But there was no succession planning, right? There was no Caymanian training underneath him. And when Hyatt went out, when it went under after Hurricane Ivan, that was the end of it, right? So we are not saying to our youngsters, yes, you're going to start as the doorman, but that is not the limit for you. The limit is you can actually own the hotel.
Yes.
Or you can be the GM in the hotel. You don't even have to do it in Cayman, because the Kimpton is it's a
global brand.
Right? The Westin is a brand, right?
The Ritz is a global brand.
Right.
Those are great luxury hotels.
That's the stuff that's the stuff I like. I'm talking about that stuff because people open my mind about that stuff. Like, mentors would say to me, hey, I know that you want to work, but I'd like for you to own something one day as well. So while you're getting this experience, you need to start thinking, what can I own? What can I buy into? What can I invest in? That's what I've put in our training today, because our children aren't thinking outside the box. What they're thinking about is a paycheck. Well, employers have moved on from that. Like I told you the last time I was here, in the last 5 years, I've been busy talking to employers because I want to understand. While I've worked in some level of retail in the U.S., I don't know what the demand is here, and I don't know what the skills demand is here. So I wanted to understand. So I talked to a lot of retailers. What are you looking for? Because we have youngsters that want to do retail. We have young people that want to go into the hospitality industry. How can they thrive in this industry? What is it that I have as an organization? What do I need to give them in order to ensure? And a lot of it is attitude. Right?
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Please work on their attitude.
Yeah.
Please work on their soft skills, right? I need them to show up on time here. I need them to be open-minded about learning, right? There's a lot of learning. An organization, we've placed a couple of people at the Ritz-Carlton. There's a lot of learning that go on because they pride themselves in giving the best service, not the service of everyone else. They are the Mercedes-Benz of the hospitality industry.
Right. Their service is incredible.
Absolutely, man. They floor you because they know if we provide you the best service, you're coming back next year. Yep. And you're spending $10K here, right? That's what it is. And that's what we're preparing our young people for. This is not about a job for you anymore. If you're not looking for a career, you better don't come out of your bedroom, right? Because no one is here to give you a job because employers have moved on. Employers are now saying, I need you to represent my brand, right? You're not just here to collect a paycheck, work 9 to 5 or, whatever you're going to work and go home. Whatever you do here impacts my bottom line, right? So this is not a social hire. And if you don't do that, I'm going to replace you tomorrow with someone else, and more than likely, it's normally a foreigner.
All right, we're gonna get more into this conversation. We got to go to our first commercial break, Michael. But when we come back, we're going to be discussing a lot more of the data that we have read in the Auditor General's report titled "Improving Employment Prospects for Caymanians."
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center.
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Get your child ready for the new school year with Total Health in Grand Pavilion. Total Health's comprehensive back-to-school checkups include ENT, eye, and dental pediatric exams. Ensure your child's health with a complete health report card before school begins. Contact Total Health today at 333-2222 or visit totalhealth.ky to schedule your child's back-to-school checkup. Total Health, where wellness meets education, because every child deserves a healthy start.
So, schools are back in, and you know what that means. The germs are back too. All them sticky fingers, runny noses, and don't get me started on what I find in those bags. Trying to keep this house clean. I call GJP Janitorial. With over 20 years of experience in deep cleaning, furniture, and maid services, the house felt cleaner. And boy, so did I. Call GJP Janitorial for a free quote. 548-1221. GJP Janitorial. Lose the mop, we'll clean the slop. GJP Janitorial. 548-1221.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
All right, welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and in studio I have with me Myles from Inspire Cayman Training. We're going over some of the insights that were derived from the Auditor General's report on improving employment prospects for Caymanians that was published in May. Again, I said last night that the website was down, so you might not be able to access the report right now, but you can get in touch with us at Radio Cayman, and I'm happy to send you a copy of that report. Even if you just read the 2 or 3 pages about the key insights in there, that's the gist of it right there. So we were just talking about some of that hotel placement that has been going on in Cayman. And I understand that there is a bit of a disparity between the jobs that are available and the jobs that Caymanians want. And that was also mentioned in this report. It was also in a different report that I don't think has been published as yet for the public, that was conducted last year. That same piece of data came out. And I was like, okay, so how are we looking at the education system and what people want to study? How are we training these kids or letting them know about these careers that they can go into? I think that's a really, really big deal.
I think it's separated and it's certainly isolated. And I mean, in my years of government, the unfortunate thing is that there's so many silos that within critical areas of government. For instance, WORC's stats should drive programming for the Ministry of Education. Labor and education go together, and even if they're not under the same roof, they should be communicating on a regular basis, because WORC or labor should be saying, okay, here's the jobs that are coming, here's the demand that's coming. Ministry of Education should be saying, we need to retool our education system to meet this labor demand. It makes no sense to just train young people in general things, and when they come out, they're unemployed. Mm-hmm. So that's what we get. So I just started a group. We're now on our 6th Ready to Work group, and what we have done, as I was saying to you, we start with the end result in mind. So because training to me isn't the end result. Placement is the end result. Employment is the end result. Career path is the end result. So when youngsters come in to see us, and we get kids from 17 to 50, right? And our end result is we have to start to work on what career path you want to take. I'm not interested in just training you for the sake of training. That to me don't make sense. It's not a good value for money for the government. So when I'm speaking to work, I'm always saying, what is the end result? We want to ensure that at least 80% of the people that come into our program, that Ready to Work program, complete it entirely. So what we've done is that we've taken a Ready to Work training program, we've increased it to 8 weeks, because it was 2 weeks for years, right? And we were trying to train up unemployed Caymanians in 2 weeks. And it's impossible when people have had many hurdles to employment. Because employment, I want to explain to the listening public, Caymanians want to work. We are not lazy people. We have grown up with seafarers who spent decades on boats. We have inherent ambition, right? And I would, take offense to anyone who says that Caymanians are lazy people. My mother worked 3 jobs. I grew up watching her work that many. I've been working since I was 13 years old. My children have been working since they were kids. The youngsters that come into me, they're incredible young people that absolutely want to be employed. What we don't have in our country is this, you now have to have that drive. Here's what those here's what the markets are. Not just emerging, here's what the markets are, and here's what they're paying. As opposed to, well, I could only be a receptionist because I have youngsters, I just want to do admin. And I'm saying, what is admin? They can't define it to me because their parents have told them that they should just be doing admin. Let's define what admin is to you. Because you could do admin in an automotive center. You could do admin in a plumbing company. What type of admin do you want to do? And is there an up to that? Because everybody gets excited about putting on really nice clothes. So I'm often saying, you could put on very nice clothes and I'll pay you minimum wage. Are you comfortable with that? No, sir, I don't want that. Great. Then let's start to think outside the box with what your career has to be. Now, you can start off as an intern, but dude, we're ending up as the manager. In the next couple of years, we need to be doing some learning and some training because we're going to the top of it. We don't have that level of coaching. So therefore, when you have the schools coming out saying, we're going to be training up people to be lawyers and doctors and all these white collar crimes and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to convince a kid who wants to be an accountant to be a plumber. That's not my gig, right? I have a daughter who works in security. I have another daughter who is a professional baker. Like, she does pastry arts. I didn't convince her to be a lawyer. She, from birth, almost wanted to be in the kitchen. So that's what I've encouraged her to do, right? Our goal should be Ministry of Education, labor. Labor should be guiding this. All of these things, because, you've seen it. We have the report. Before this report, the Chamber of Commerce, Resinbid sponsored it, and UCCI pushed out another major report.
That's the one that I was saying. I was referencing that I don't think is published as yet. Yeah.
Right? And no one takes that on. Like, I was asked, right, who's responsible for the recommendations of this one? Resinbid paid a killing of money for that report. And then right after that, the Auditor General came out with another report. So now you have these 2 big labor reports, and no organization or institution has come out to say, okay, we are going to take recommendations 5 through 10. Right. You take Chamber, or this one or that one takes recommendations 6 through this. Right. No one says that. All we've done is the Auditor General gives everyone a big slap on the wrist and says, dude, you're spending too much money. We need to be careful. And everybody just runs around like nothing have ever happened. No one takes responsibility for it. That has been my issue. And that's what we reteach to the kids. You have to start to take responsibility, right? Our youngsters are getting an opportunity to do training with Inspire. You are going to come in grateful because you don't have to be here. The government doesn't have to sponsor you. You're now 25 years old. You now have to start to look for a career because we're not training you to do a job anymore. That's the easy part. So when I say to the listening public, we have to start to get our children to understand that there's loads of information out there. I teach information. I share information. These reports, I share this with our youngsters because they're not going to go looking for this.
No, most people won't be going looking for
Absolutely.
this. That's why having these conversations and bringing this to light, I've never read a report like this in my life from an Auditor General. This was my first one because you encouraged me. You're like, Kathy, you're going to see some things. Spoke about it, brought you back in. So one of the major insights from this report is that government has spent $144 million on improving employment prospects for Caymanians from 2019 to 2023. So part of that funding includes just funding different programs outside, different centers outside, including Inspire Cayman training. And if I'm correct, I believe you were one of the recipients or Inspire Cayman training. I think it was $400,000
Correct.
for 1 year.
We assumed the Ready to Work training program.
Can you explain your relationship with work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, work, I guess, put out for bid their programs. We bid on we bid on the Ready to Work training program, the TVET training program, and the general training program. We were able to really put up a really nice bid of what we can do because we were doing it before. The difference when we won the Ready to Work training program bid was we re-engineered the program. What I shared with work was we need an outcome, not an output. I don't want to give the government poor value. So therefore, how do we ensure that Caymanians end up in employment? I can't do this in 2 weeks because the folks that are coming into the Ready to Work training program are the chronically unemployed. We have folks that are in between employment, and then we also have school leavers. Well, these are probably the 3 biggest groups that employers are saying, I don't really want to work with these people, right? They're coming in too raw, and I don't have the time to train these people, and they're draining my company. So what I did was I shared with work, we have to start to look at this a little bit different. And the difference is of what we've put in is that we need to work on barriers. The single mom that comes in to Inspire that have a number of children want employment. But what if she doesn't have childcare?
Right.
We need to solve that problem.
Minimum wage.
Absolutely.
Because we know that Caymanians are interested in tourism. They are interested in construction. But that minimum wage is a huge barrier for them to move forward, as is also noted in this report.
It is. But I think we can get past that part, right?
How?
We get past that part by training. We get past that part by educating. A lot of our young people, instead of me saying to an employer, okay, why don't you take John in employment? I don't advocate for employment anymore. What I advocate for, I need John to get in the door. So we set up internships. I need John to get a sample of, is this what you want, right? Because what employers are frustrated about is that they hire Myles, and all of a sudden I'm gung-ho about working in the hospitality industry. Then I get into the industry and I figured out that it's actually work. And now I don't want it anymore, right? This doesn't suit me. I want to work, but I don't want to do this work. And then all of a sudden, the employer have just enrolled them in a pension company, enroll them in health insurance, and now they're upset and they've had to advertise, they've had to train, or they have to interview, they then had to train, they've provided them with uniforms, and all of a sudden to have them quit in 2 weeks. So we don't do that. We re-engineered that. I don't want you to hire them. I don't want you to hire them outright. What I want you to do is continue on with the training that we've given them. The 8 weeks that they're with us, I want to test how effective that training is.
Okay.
So, Mr. Employer, I need you to take John. He wants to be in the hospitality industry, but he wants to be in the engineering department. I don't need you to put him in landscaping. I don't need you to put him on the server line. Let's put him in your engineering department, and let's do it for a month. And within that month, my team is checking in with the employer. We've gotten over 100 people, 100 Caymanians employed that way.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I want to go more into how you are tracking those outcomes, really, and also discuss a little bit about work and Ministry of Education also not tracking any outcomes for these programs, as was noted in here. That is completely shocking to me. Yeah. 144 million spent over those years and not tracking the effectiveness, the success, if anybody's being placed. That is the wildest thing in the world. As I've said before, you cannot measure what you don't manage. And that's a huge thing. So we're going to go to our next commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into that.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
So, schools are back in, and you know what that means. The germs are back too. All them sticky fingers, runny noses, and don't get me started on what I find in those bags. Trying to keep this house clean. I call GJP Janitorial. With over 20 years of experience in deep cleaning, furniture, and maid services, the house felt cleaner. And boy, so did I. Call GJP Janitorial for a free quote. 548-1221. GJP Janitorial. Lose the mop, we'll clean the slop. GJP Janitorial. 548-1221.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future,
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance,
or protecting your family's household investment.
from our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center.
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
The Car City Summer Savings Event just got better.
This Saturday, August 24th, not only do we have great deals on every new car on the lot, but when you purchase a new car, you'll have the chance to spin and win. We'll be giving away free gas for a year, extended warranties, free servicing, and car insurance.
Plus, we'll have banks and insurance providers on site to assist with your new car purchase.
Visit us this Saturday to save and win big, only at the Car City Summer Savings Event.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and in studio I have with me Michael Myles from Inspire Cayman Training. We are discussing the Auditor General's report on improving employment prospects for Caymanians. It was published in May, and we were talking a little bit about how Michael tracks the outcomes from his program. So he spoke about the Ready to Work program, which he has that he bid for under work. So he's received a sum of money every year this happens, or not every year, I guess. It's
the students receive scholarships, so we don't receive a lump sum of money. What work does is that each student receives a scholarship, and we get those students.
Gotcha.
And I like it better that way. I would prefer it better that way. I must be fair as well. This past year, the Ministry of Education created the TVET grant. It's first time in, I was excited because they've never had a TVET grant that organizations like mine could apply for. We have, I don't want to quote the number because just off the top of my head, I know that we have at least 50 people that have received TVET grants on that. And they are doing a phenomenal amount of training as well.
Wonderful. From
heavy equipment to IT, to geriatric, to the things in the healthcare industry,
right.
To paddy. We have youngsters now that are becoming paddy divers. This is exciting times if they do this. As I said, I start with the end result. And it's one of the things that when I met with work over a year and a half ago, I don't want to do training for the sake of doing training. The goal for us has always been, how do we get Caymanians in employment? So each cohort that we get, we normally receive 15 up to 15 people every 2.5 months. And we do an 8-week training. Our program is normally 12 weeks. But for the last year, because of limited funds, work have decided that they could only do 8 weeks. And we've done miracles with that 8 weeks, right? Okay. But the critical part of our program, Kathy, I want to ensure that, I share with you and certainly the listening audience, is reducing barriers to employment. And the barriers to employment for us that we've seen was childcare, housing, food, clothing, shoes, transportation. We have taken all of that on as well, right? So we didn't just take on the Ready to Work training program. We are ensuring that people get to us by whether it's bus fare or we ensure that they are delivered by other means. And getting home, we feed all of our full-time students, get lunch from us every single day. Before they start the program, we have a dress code. So you cannot come in, without having either a polo shirt on, a nice dress, or a nice skirt. You have to look professional coming in the door. 99% of the folks that come to us do not have that.
We have a phone call So we're going to take the caller, and I do have a question after we deal with the caller here. Thank you for calling the Business Buzz. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. And you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. What would you like to share with us this morning?
Well, you guys are discussing the employment in Cayman, talking about, other stuff. But what I realized as a young Caymanian myself does not necessarily need to do with the soft skills that you're developing, but more of the actual hard skills. Because Cayman has a program, the government program, that allows young Caymanians to go away essentially for free. You know, you have to work back in the government, of course, but it's essentially for free. And it seems like young Caymanians aren't necessarily interested in this for some reason and going straight to work, even though most jobs, the baseline salary is only like less than $15, but require a bachelor's degree. So I don't necessarily think soft skills are the issue. I think the issue is that these employers are requesting too much for a beginner's role.
That is actually also one of the things noted in this report. But I'll give Michael the way to answer you.
You know, I agree with the caller. I think it's a mixture. I think where we stand at this point in time, soft skills is a major issue. I can see it, and we have trained up almost 800 people in the last 5 years, and the majority of them have come in extremely raw, right? They don't it's not even having a whereabouts that when an employer says 8:30 start, that's not eating breakfast at 8:30. When an employer says you need to dress appropriate, like a construction organization saying, like youngsters are into work in flip-flops and like to go up on the roof. You dress like that, or their pants is sagging, or they're just, it's unsafe for them, and they don't have the emotional intelligence to understand that this is like what they're doing is unsafe and it's inappropriate. So we do a lot of soft skills training. Yes, I agree that there are some scrupulous employers out there, but that is not the majority. That's a minority amount of folks. I've never had an issue with getting Caymanians in employment. Like I've said, we re-engineered it because I do not go out there saying hire John Brown when I know John Brown doesn't add value to an employer anymore. And we also have to be realistic. A 17-year-old isn't going to be paid $15 an hour to do a job that he knows nothing about.
Right.
So let's start from somewhere where I believe that it's adequate for that kid to get some motivation. Yes, they need to be paid. That's why I pay them, right? Through the Ready to Work program, we pay them. We pay them for 3 months because I have a clearer understanding that they have to get there. So they need some sort of pay. They need to eat, right? But these kids are living at home. So we are now looking at other ways on how we help people in a major way. Kathy, is what I've just said to you. We had to reduce things like childcare because if we are going to reduce things like NAU demand, because those people are unemployed, we have to be able to ensure that the kids are taken care of. We have to make sure that they're dressed appropriately. Well, if they can't come to me on a regular basis, and that means every day, how the hell are they going to go to employment, right? And the argument has always been, well, sir, I don't have transportation. Oh, I live in East End. I understand that. But what happens when the job is in West Bay and you need to get there for 7 o'clock in the morning? Like, you can't call your employer and say, well, I live in East End, it's traffic, so therefore I can't come today.
Right.
Or it's, like I get all the time, a little rain falls and everybody don't want to come to class. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but we have training today. You don't come back. Because in a regular job, no one is closing their company because rain have fell, right? So it's teaching them that emotional intelligence, and they can build from there. People that start off at minimum wage, they have a choice to stay at minimum wage, or they have a choice to get more training and climb up.
Right.
When I started off at 13, no one was paying me, $30 an hour. Today I'm being paid a wage that I believe that I'm valued because I demand that, right? So I think overall we have to be realistic about how this is, but we're doing it different.
Correct. Thank you, caller, for your thoughts and for sharing them with us this morning. We only got a couple of minutes left, so we got to let you go because I want to get into a couple of other things here. I want to point out, Michael, as well, I had a paper route when I was like 8th grade, and that, paid nothing. And then it went on to various odd jobs. But even after going to like an audio engineering school for 3 years, it was very hard for me to get a job in a recording studio or in that kind of realm, that industry. And when I did, I was paid $50 Canadian a day. I had minimum 12-hour days.
Yeah.
Please do the math on your own.
Absolutely.
And that was because I was very lucky to get a foot in that industry.
Yeah.
So I had to pay my dues. So really, when you're starting out in those first couple of years, it's not the easiest thing.
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't. And that's something that people need to grasp as well.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get the highest paying thing. So I wanted to bring up how it is said in the report that works performance is difficult to measure because they have not set up any KPIs to monitor their own performance. And that's about in 3 sections at work: HR, information systems, and operations. They've also had 4 directors in the first 4 years of operation, which calls to shaky leadership, a lot of senior positions in management. Those roles are constantly turning over. They're trying to find people to fill it. So there was not a good leadership in those first few years for work. There wasn't. And these people need to understand that these people are in charge of people's lives, literally in charge of people's lives.
Yeah.
They make a huge difference to our lives, not just expats on permits, Caymanians as well.
Yeah.
They have, it said here that they do have 14 KPIs related to improving employment prospects for Caymanians, but 8 of them lack KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they're not able to be measured to their effectiveness. Of the 6 KPIs that were defined, only 2 of them were met. There is no mention in the report how work remedies this. So when it comes to, what's your thoughts on that? The fact that not only work, but the Ministry of Education did not track their $600,000 given to Superior Auto, for example, to see how did those Caymanians go into those training programs. What's their succession? Where did they get placed? So what's your thoughts on not tracking any of this at all?
I think we create a lot of feel-good programs. We enjoy, and I was sharing with the group over this last week, that we've gotten to the point where we reward people just for showing up now, because it feels good. And unfortunately, political leaders are pushing a lot of this, right? So we create programs only because we want to be able to go there, share one, take some pictures, and then done in the newspaper, and we say to the listening public, see what I have done, here's what I have given you.
Correct.
Right? But at the end of it, nothing out of that. I saw that 5 years ago, right, when I started Inspire. I've saw it over the last 30 years of just being involved in youth development. We create programs, there's no KPIs, there's no measurement, get a lot of funding, and no outcome. That's why when I signed on with work, I said, I'm going to hold Myles accountable because these are my people. I'm not going to just make money for these people. These are my people, and I have to where the end result have to be employment for me. So I start with that, whereas all of these other organizations don't start with that outcome. Education, as I've shared with you, and labor do not really have those meetings together where they're saying, hey, here's the jobs in demand. As education, we need now to ensure that we're pushing out 200 plumbers, mechanics, and all of this sort of stuff. So we're going to hold these organizations accountable for what they're delivering. We don't do that. We're just giving money blindly.
Yes.
Because, again, politicians are controlling the purse string of the government. They control the money of the government, right? So civil servants follow along because politicians are the ones that are voting for the funds. There has to be more accountability. I've said countless amounts of times to a number of different people, the Auditor General has now paid a lot of money for this report because this report isn't free, right? People did this report. We had to pay auditors to do this report. We now have some sort of roadmap. We're spending a lot of money, $144 million, and we're saying we're not getting the result. But no department, no institution have come out, no ministry have come out to say, okay, we are going to own this report. This is going to be a roadmap for us to improve things. It's the government that did that. It wasn't my government that did that. My government is doing this. As opposed to saying, hey man, we're all responsible for this, right? The buck stops with me. I'm going to take some ownership with this. I'm going to take my legs as they come, and we make this right. That's what I'm doing at Inspire. I'm a small business, I'm a private organization, and I take it personal when young people don't deliver. I personalize each one of them. When we get these youngs in, we have a group of 14 in now. And I've said to them, they started on Monday, and I've said to them, the end result isn't employment, you need to leave now. That is my goal. If we're not going there, we pay them. Work has a stipend program. I've renamed that. It's a performance bonus. I've tied it to performance. You have to come on time, dress appropriately, and engage. You cannot just come and sit in a training room and go to sleep. Right? You have to come on time. It's all connected to their performance bonus. When you don't engage, I ask you to leave the training room and go home. When you don't come in on time, you sit in my reception area for an hour and a half. Right?
We got to go to 9 a.m. news. I think I'm going to keep you a few minutes later because I want to ask you a couple questions. Sure. But I hope that's okay, Susan.
Yeah,
but we got to go to the 9 a.m. headline news.
Yesterday, today,
always and forever.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
The Integra Healthcare Lemonade Day event was a resounding success, providing over 21 local children with an engaging and educational experience that equipped them with the skills and knowledge to start, own, and operate their very own lemonade stands. This initiative played a significant role in fostering financial literacy, self-reliance, and a passion for entrepreneurship among the youth in our community. Good morning, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, U.S. President Joe Biden has stressed the urgency of reaching a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the White House has said. In a call on Wednesday, which was also joined by Vice President Kamala Harris, Mr. Biden is said to have stated the importance of removing any remaining obstacles blocking an agreement with Hamas. It came after the U.S. Secretary of State wrapped up a diplomatic tour of the Middle East, pushing for a deal that could end the war. And television icon Oprah Winfrey made a surprise appearance at the Democratic National Convention in her hometown of Chicago, where she urged Democrats and independent voters to choose common sense over nonsense. On Wednesday, she said, "Let us choose truth, let us choose honor, let us choose joy, because that is the best of America." 70-year-old Winfrey, who has avoided the political spotlight in recent years, lent some of her star power to Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, on the third night of the four-day convention. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. Radio Cayman Headline News.
The Health Services Authority has over 120 world-class physicians offering the most comprehensive range of specialist services on island. Our dedicated team of professionals provide the highest quality care in orthopedics, interventional radiology, women's health, geriatrics, and a host of other specialist areas. We are a JCI accredited organization with a proven record of excellence. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning. Welcome to the Business Buzz, my slightly extended show this morning because it's a pretty hot topic. There's a lot of interesting things for us to discuss, information to get out to the public. And Michael, right before we were speaking about some of the programs going on with Inspire Cayman training and your relationship with work, right? Talking about the tracking the outcomes of your programs. And I just mentioned how work has a whole bunch of KPIs that aren't actually really clearly defined, most of them not met. Some of their three major departments within work have no KPIs. It's zero way to measure their own performance and how effective they are there. And as well, 144 million over a few years, not being able to track the success of the spend of that money is absolutely wild to me. Is work reaching out to you at all to see the success of the Ready to Work program, for example?
Part of it. It's absolutely part of it. You know, one of the things that I've enjoyed with working with the training team at work, I think that team should be bolstered some more. Phenomenal people. I've enjoyed working with all of the folks. I think Catherine and her team does a really great job. We meet often. We level set on what we want, because when I took over the program, I made it very clear, you're not paying me to just do training. We have to make sure Caymanians end up in employment. So I always tweaking the program. You know, like I was telling you, a year ago, or well, actually 2 years ago, we decided that too many young people coming in with medical issues, emotional, mental health issues, drug and alcohol issues. Well, they all want employment. We can't place them like that. So we drug screen everyone. We drug test everyone before they even start. I want to know where you are. We have invested in hiring a therapist. We brought a therapist and staff.
That's amazing.
To do more life skills and health and wellness training as well.
Michael, that's absolutely amazing.
But it's necessary now. If you're telling me that I'm just going to run a TVET training, I don't want that. Because anybody can do that. If you tell me that I would like that you're going to give me a holistic training program, sign me up every day, all day.
Right.
So we are now bringing in a fitness instructor. We over the last year we've done yoga. We tap into things like their online training to enhance more skills. While we're giving them soft skills, we're giving them hard skills as well. Through the Ministry of Education, we're signing them up to things like IT, the healthcare industry, so they're taking harder programming. What I've also done is that work only pays for 8 weeks, but I need them for a year. So what the Ministry of Scholarship represents, I now have them, I sign our students up to that TVET program, and I keep them for a year because I need to monitor their employment for a year.
Right.
And that's where the tracking comes in. I hired an individual just to track that. I hired an individual just to reach out to employers. How is John doing? How is Jean doing? Right? What
Wonderful.
can we do?
I feel like you could be training you could be training work on how to get this stuff done.
What I feel is that the end result for a lot of organizations isn't employment. The end result for a lot of organizations is getting money to just do training. To me, that's weird. I need an outcome, right? And training isn't the outcome. So the outcome has to be for us. How can we help Caymanians get into career paths, right? How can we get them to start, right? To get to be ambitious about where they are and to climb that. I don't advocate for jobs, right? I don't say, well, here's how much I think an employer should pay you. What we also have, Kathy, is that we now have our youngsters bringing their contracts back to us, right? We help them understand their health insurance. We help them understand their pension. We've put in Financial Peace University to help them understand where their salary goes. Because now you're getting paid. I don't want you to end up broke like I did. I want you to end up ahead. So let's look at savings. Let's look at investments. Let's look at buying a house. What does that cost? How much do you need to come up with? Well, our school system don't talk about this stuff, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden the kid is now 17 years old. They graduated from school, and now we expect them to understand how to open up a bank account. I mean, you'd be shocked the number of kids that come into me that are between, 20 and 50 years old that has never had a bank account.
That
ever.
Shocks me, absolutely.
Right? Has never had a bank account. And I'm saying, you're like, what? No. But again, they don't have a passport. And to get a bank account, you need a passport, right? So I have to help them get a passport, right? like that's the stuff. Like those are the things that are stumbling blocks in the system. These kids want they want employment. I've never very few out of 100%, we may have maybe 10% that say, something, I just don't give a crap about employment, and they don't last with us.
Right.
The youngsters that walk in the door that finish the program, that are taking it seriously, that are cleaning up their art, I'm telling you, their employment. We finished the group in July. Out of the 13, 11 are employed.
Okay.
Right? So those are the things that we're doing, but it's not about starting with just training. It's about looking ahead and saying, okay, how do we get them placed and how do we reduce the barriers that they're facing?
Yeah,
they're facing loads of barriers.
The barriers is absolutely a huge thing. Completely agree with you on that one. We're coming to the end of the show now, so thank you to Susan for allowing me to go a little
Thank you,
longer,
Susan.
even though I know I'm going to get in a little tiny bit of trouble, but that's okay. This is the first time I've done that. I promise not to do this again. I'm breaking the rules a little bit. I do want our listeners to know that we will be having work coming in on Tuesday morning.
It's a good idea.
Tuesday, August 27th. They're coming in at 8:15. I believe it's going to be the director and one other person from work and senior management as well coming in.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the improved, revised job portal that the work has just put out.
Right.
And that is actually one of the recommendations that the Auditor General has in this report. So we're not saying that work's not doing absolutely nothing. They are making steps.
Sure.
That is one of the steps for sure that they've been addressing, that it's been addressed.
Yeah.
We'll see how this new portal is working within a few months. I'm sure they'll get some feedback.
Absolutely.
See what's going to go on. And that's just the nature of things. Get feedback. We might have to tweak things a little bit.
Yeah.
See how we can improve it and keep going, right? Everything's always an improving and a learning process throughout our whole lives.
That's it.
I do hope to ask work some questions in regards to some of the recommendations there.
Yeah.
I really look forward to having them on because I don't think they've been on Radio Cayman in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that they say, hey, we want to talk about this new job portal. And to get to the end of the show, hopefully address a few other questions that are going on from this from the recommendations that we're given. We're going to see what work is working on. So thank you so much, Michael, for coming in this morning and having this discussion.
It's been a pleasure. Like I said, it's been a pleasure. I just want to say for the record, it's been a pleasure working with WRC. They have taken a lot of my suggestions or recommendations to improving the Ready to Work training program, improving the TVET training program, improving the general training program. We've had a great working relationship. They listen to what I'm saying because I'm dealing with it every single day. Come 2025, we have another 5 cohorts that's scheduled over 2025. And I want to tell you, they've taken a recommendation to move back to 12 weeks of training because they're seeing the success. And I've said, I'm stuffing a lot into 8 weeks. I feel that sometimes I'm overwhelming our people. I don't want to do that. So they've taken my recommendations and now we're moving the program to 12 weeks back again.
Yeah.
Because it takes 12 weeks to see change, right? And I don't want to overwhelm Caymanians. But work have also seen that I don't come back to them and say, hey, place 10 of these people. I'm doing that on my own. And they've enjoyed my partnership because I'm doing something about it. I'm not sitting down in a corner and complaining that work is not doing nothing. So I've enjoyed the relationship, and I could only say it could only get better going forward.
Absolutely. Hopefully it can only get better. That's the aim here. So thank you, everybody, for listening with us this morning, and I'll be back with you on Tuesday morning for the Business Buzz.
The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman.